Okay. Welcome back to ReZero Anime Review, episode number 27. Yep. Back to this series. Last time I reviewed anything related to this particular franchise was back in October. That was 3 months ago. And now we have the official start of the second half of Season 2. This is episode 30, reviewing episode 39 for the series, Straight Bet. And here's the interesting thing. There's no opening title theme song in this episode. Nope, there's none. Which, for a lot of the time, that usually remains a sign of a good episode. But I always love seeing like an anime theme song when it comes to anime. This one doesn't have it very much, surprisingly. I'll talk a little bit more, something a little bit later. But let's talk about the episode. The episode picks up exactly where we left off way back in the previous episode, episode 38, which premiered back on September 30th. Which was a little 3 months ago, where Otto had punched Subaru in the face. This episode picks up exactly where that left off, where Subaru gets up and starts a brief little mini brawl with him. At one point, Otto basically gives Subaru a good judo flip. Yeah, flips over judo style, and they basically decide to reconcile, like they become good friends, and they formulate a plan. Not exactly, most of this episode, it's just Subaru talking to people a lot of the episode. After they talk to Subaru talks to Otto. He then goes to talk to Roswell, which is the first time this season he actually talks to him in the daytime. And Roswell's like, what are you doing here? This is not usual. You usually talk to me at night. Why are you talking to me during the daytime? That's why he uses this expression like, I'll make a bet with you. You put your wish against mine. And if I win, you help Emilia become the ruler of the country. He's like, okay. And he's like, and if you lose, I'll use your power any way I see fit. Which, yes, this is to happen in the actual book itself. So it's a brief conversation, and they agree to work together. Somewhat. Oh yeah, and he says, put your clown makeup back on. He also is very much more competent now, because a lot of the time throughout this season, it's even like this in the books as well. Anytime previously he's had a conversation with Roswell, usually has him arguing, with usually him yelling at him, or something really bad happening, like Roswell killing Rem and Garfield right in front of Subaru. This time, no arguing. And we see Rem briefly, and of course they still formulate their plan. So Subaru goes to his next stop. He goes to see Resu Mayer. Well, basically, he goes back to the facility he visited several episodes back, where he basically reveals he talks to one of the Rezu. Turns out this is not the same way currently the Rezu Bella. He doesn't mention her. Of course, this is Rezu. I think what was her last name? It's not Mayer. It's I don't remember the woman's last name, but. Oh, Enzma. Yeah, that's the name. Enzma. So, she does not know what happened. So she talked about the one, basically what he mentioned before. He mentioned about, basically, the fact that he knows about the immortality experiment. Basically, showing a flashback to when he talked to Emilia. Not Emilia. Basically, talked about the witch agreed about it. Which, I'm surprised he hasn't pointed out to people, man, all these witches are hot. Yes. If he had his own collection of women, he'd be like, well, I'd say all but two of these women he probably would sleep with. Yeah, the only two he wouldn't is Witch of Lust, because she's a former little girl, and Typhoon, because she's also a little girl as well, because he wouldn't do that at all. Yeah. Of course, they always talk about Garfield in the scene. The fact that he actually is the younger brother of Frederica. The fact that she actually is less human than she is beast. And basically they talk about how Garfield, that apparently Rosie was apparently against liberating the sanctuary. Turns out that's actually not the case. This one actually is not against it. It's Garfield's against it because of resentment toward his mother. Though he took apparently his last name that he uses is actually his mother's last name. Yes. The reason why? So he doesn't forget her. Okay, interesting. I mean, it was already explained that both him and his sister do have different last names. At least this explains the reasoning for it. So Federica, I think she uses her father's last name. While, of course, they mention, oh yeah, they're basically brother and sister, but Federica's father is different from Garfield's father. But they have the same mother. And she is the older sibling. Of course, they don't mention that here, but that is mentioned basically by Subaru when he talked to Federica about this. It's like, yeah, you're siblings, but you're the older sibling, just by looking at her, which, yeah, that part is true. I think she's older than Garfield by about, I'd say about 5 or 6 years, because she's presumably in her early 20s. Garfield is close, just a little bit younger than Subaru is 17. Garfield, I think, is supposed to be 15 at this point. Also, he tends to have it where when he talks to Rezu, keeps calling her an old hag, despite the fact she looks like a little girl. Because she's older. And, well, they do revisit this particular location at the end of the episode. So after he finishes the conversation with her, he goes to visit Amelia. And we have the last appearance of Puck in the series in this episode because, well, he breaks off his contract with her. Of course, Subaru touches the crystal. Of course, Puck thinks it's just the enemy, but nope, it's just Subaru. Of course, he nearly freezes his hands off, which not the first time that Subaru has got himself frozen by Puck, because this happened also in one of the alternate times. One of the times he apparently died. So, basically, Puck breaks off his contract with Amelia, and it turns out though when he made a contract, he apparently put a seal on her memories. And apparently breaking the contract breaks that seal. And it turns out, though, that the woman that she thinks basically was like a mother, turns out this woman is her mother. What her name is, don't know. We do see a brief flashback in here of pretty much Razo promising to help Amelia for your family, which, okay. And Sue points out, though, caring about others is not a bad thing, and basically what your desire is not selfish. He perfectly agrees with it, and he's going to support it. And, of course, well, he also said, basically, she wants him to... Then he basically gets... She's getting tired, so he basically just puts on the covers. And just basically also holds her hand. You're probably curious, though. Like, does he ever try to do anything sexual to her? No. No, he doesn't. She does reveal in this episode, she at one point was frozen. Yes, she was frozen. Their flashback, of course, they mentioned something about sloth, which they do explore this in book 14. Oh, good gosh! I wouldn't be surprised if Todd Eppercorn gets a call from Crunchyroll and said, "Hey, Todd, your character showed up in these episodes. Could you come over to record some episodes?" You're probably like, "Sure, whatever. I got nothing else to do." Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that because Portuguese, the Archbishop of Sloth, he actually does appear in book 14, believe it or not. Yeah, he appears in flashback. So I wouldn't be surprised though if he actually shows up. I think he appears for like 2 chapters of book 14. He does appear in this book. Of course, he's still dead. Yeah, Subaru killed him. But in the form of the actual book itself, he does appear in flashbacks where apparently he's connected to Amelia. Somehow, despite the fact Amelia, when she first saw him, she had no idea who the heck the guy is. But now, since memories are still, she has some idea who he is now. Though at the time, he didn't. She didn't. So, pretty much like right after, like, of course, asks her to hold her hand, and then she wakes up. I don't think that much time has passed by. Of course, it's holding her hand till morning, though it's basically like daytime, though Subaru apparently leaves. As for what was the reason for this, if you're thinking, like, do they explain this, like, why he left in the book? No, not really. They don't really explain why he left. He just did. And then Amelia disappears, and everybody's looking for her. Garfield's like wondering what the heck is going on. And then we have a similar ending we had a few episodes back in this series, where basically you have the music playing, that really awesome music that the series has. So, Subaru does show up in the last little bit of the episode. He's actually absent for the last, 5 minutes for, most of it. And then we see Garfield looking for Rezu Bema, where she looks in the shack she was staying in, the house. She's not there. And he goes to the facility, which, yeah, he goes to the facility. That's where he runs into. Does he run into Rezu? No, he runs into Otto, which basically gonna start their little fight that happens in the actual book. Yeah, these two actually do fight in the book. Though Subaru ends up basically beating him, actually ends up fighting him in the actual book. Yeah, Subaru fights Garfield in book 14. Well, 13 anyways. Yep. Then the episode ends with Emilia in the trial in the graveyard, where basically Subaru basically comes to her and they basically says like, let's talk. And that's how the episode ends. I gotta admit, really good episode. Great to see the series again. Only 11 more episodes left before basically this season concludes. Now, since we just started this particular season with today, my guess is we'll probably finish up, presumably, depending upon... Let's take a look at the months, basically, shot when it comes to... let's see. I would probably think, according to the way this goes, I would think that, presumably, because this is probably going to be 12 episodes... So, I think this probably finished up by March 24th. Unless, of course, they decided to extend it by one more episode. I'd be shocked if they did that, because normally they would end it by the end of a particular month. So, will they end it by the last week of March? Who knows? It depends. Now, I should point out something interesting, though, about this particular series that I alluded to at the start of it. Now, this is one of several series part of the Isekai Quartet, which they did confirm there's no season airing this year. Don't know when. That's presumably why the season is probably ending in March. That's why it's only 12 episodes. Because probably Isekai Quartet is coming back in April. I don't know. I haven't got confirmation about that. But isn't it quite strange, though? This is one of two series actually having another season, while everything else is basically stuck on Isekai Quartet, like Overlord, Konosuba, Cautious Hero, Saga Time Evil. Basically, all the rest of the series, all of them basically are stuck there, while ReZero and Rising and Shield Hero, those two series have got another season with them. Yeah, I thought that was quite strange. I mean, in the case of all of them, Konosuba basically could have another season if it wanted to. But the most recent thing they did with it was basically a film that came out 2 years ago, which was really good, by the way. I've seen that apparently on Crunchyroll that you have the English dub for this movie, which I do appreciate the fact the movie's been dubbed. I'll probably watch it eventually, but I kind of wish they would have basically did another season for the series. It's one of those mini series that I have watched, especially last year, where I kind of wish there was another season for it, because there's still plenty of story you can tell. Like for this one, basically, like if you're curious, like how many more books left is there to adapt? There is exactly 12. Yes, 12 books. They can easily adapt this for another, several seasons of the show if they wanted to. But nope. They just haven't yet. Probably because DC staff does not want to do a season for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe because of basically having their problems with One Punch Man. Yeah, that could be possible. Though I have seen it where apparently Mappa apparently is doing, from what I heard from Anime News, apparently they're doing 50% of the anime coming out this year. What? I mean, yeah, they do Attack on Titan, apparently do a boatload of other stuff. Man, this is one busy studio. Though I have heard some about Attack on Titan. I'll discuss more about Attack on Titan when the next episode comes out, and I have heard officially, as of yesterday, what is the final chapter released. I'll discuss more about the news related to this series when I talk about Attack on Titan. But in the case of ReZero itself, this episode was good. Can't wait for next week. Which I don't think they named the episode yet. There's something quite strange about this series, where this series doesn't have a trailer for next week, but excuse me, they don't have a trailer for next week, but which I'm thinking that's kind of weird. I mean, Boruto generally does. I mean, a lot of their series I watch. This is by far the only one doesn't have a trailer. It doesn't even announce what the title of the next episode is, which that's quite weird. I would think they would, but they don't. I just think it's quite weird. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if somehow the last week of March, if they wrap up the season by the second last week of March, I wouldn't be surprised if they threw out an OVA or two this year. Yeah, and I'm really hoping that once the season concludes, that we might get a chance to see a potential for season 3 for the show. Especially since, there's still plenty of books they can adapt. I mean, there's been officially 25 books been released Yeah, 25. We would think by the end of the season, basically, that's book 15. Means you got 10 books you can adapt from, but it all depends upon the studio making the series about doing their season. Yes. Yep. So yeah, that's a particular review, and I got probably one more video I'm going to do today, and I have a To Love Ru, my final video discussing the last 4 episodes of the original To Love Ru anime, and then basically I'm going to take a little break from watching, before I'm going to basically watch the follow-up series, To Love Darkness, but I'm going to wait a bit, I'm going to watch a few episodes of Picard first, then basically watch To Love Darkness, okay? Next video. Bye.